brainwashed American soldier can't admit that the situation in the two countries that we all know and love in the Middle East is a repicide. Replace the repa with Jenna, and that's the word I'm talking about.
All right, so I wanted to talk about Israel and Gaza with you guys just because I don't know what to do.
I just don't know what to do. There's brainwashing that I endured in my years in the U.S. Army. I just can't be a freaking proper grown adult and have my own thoughts. I don't know, man.
In regards to that conflict, it's changed a lot since October 2023. That was a war when it began. And even at that point, people were frustrated with the use of the term war, but that was straight up Israel versus Hamas.
Yeah, because it was more than just a war, Preston Stewart.
No doubt was collateral damage, but you saw...
Oh, collateral damage. Wait. It's collateral damage when that Hebrew country is doing it. But when it's Russia doing actual collateral damage in Ukraine, it's Ma, are you gonna stop killing civilians, Putin?
Military operations taking place today, though, in August 2025, and this started a while ago. It's shifted to more of a, it's a humanitarian operation in so many ways, and it's
oh yes, in so many ways it's a humanitarian operation. Yes, and it's totally not like, there's more going on to it. It's not like, like someone is purposely trying to like get rid of a specific set of people and specifically, have been, taking their lands for the past God knows how long. Yes, it's just a humanitarian operation. Yes.
It's more than discussing like how this conflict is actually playing out day in and day out. It's really just a matter of dissecting narratives, like competing talking points, and deciding which one do you want to believe, or when are you going to report on it, because that's going to be the entire story. But if you give it a few hours, it'll be a different story. And if you give it even a couple days, it'll be another story entirely. And I don't know exactly how to approach that. Recently...
Yeah, because you're brainwashed. You're brainwashed. You see what's going on, and you wanted to meet ride a certain country which has the Star of David as its flag. You wanted to meet ride the country, and you couldn't. Okay, the same way how you like to meet ride Ukraine. Although I'll give it to him, he does admit that he's biased and he's pro-Ukraine. Still, though, it's easier for him to meet ride Ukraine. But you see what's going on, right, in the Middle East between those two countries, right, and that peninsula and that Hebrew state. I'm not going to say the name, but it's so blatantly obvious, right, that what that specific Hebrew state is trying to do, that you can't even. Like, even you can't really deny it anymore.
It's just been a reduction in the coverage of that conflict, because to be honest, it's exhausting. We don't have that in other conflicts, not to this degree, not like we've seen play out over the course at least the last couple months, if not the last couple years. But this is the type of thing that I remember. It's about a year ago interviewing somebody, and for the life of me I can't remember who it was, but it's a professional, somebody working at one of these think tanks or in media, whatever it might be, and Gaza and Israel came up off the record. We were talking about something else, and they essentially said that they know a lot of people in their field that won't touch the subject because it could ruin their career. I think about that a lot. It's crazy.
Yeah, the same reason why I don't like to talk about this, because it could potentially harm my YouTube channel, but I decided to take a risk.
Crazy that even wait, and we've seen it. We've seen people canceled because of something they say or something they don't say at times throughout this conflict. It's been wild. And I personally...
Fun fact, do you know that America uses cancel culture to basically censor people? Like America, right? It'll say like, oh, you know, we don't like repress people. You can say whatever you want. Blah, 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 blah. Instead, what it does is it uses political correctness to basically cancel you. So it's indirectly censoring you. It's basically using the people to censor you. Yeah.
I'm trying to keep up with it.
Just keep that in mind.
In a lot of ways. I think it's there's a lot of ways that it impacts the United States. I think there's lessons learned from any conflict, big or small, that I hope we're attuned to. So I think it's worth understanding what's going on there, but increasingly I understand less and less about what's actually happening. Now,
No, you understand everything that's happening, Preston Stewart. You perfectly understand everything. You just are pretending. You are in denial because the facts are right in front of your face. If you can confidently say that Russia purposely targets civilians in Ukraine, I don't know how hard is it for you to admit that another country is clearly purposely targeting civilians. I mean, I don't know, man. The sky is blue.
If I wanted to, I actually think that this would be a really easy conflict to follow if you were, you know, hyper partisan, hyper opinionated, and just wanted to cheerlead one side or the other. This would be so easy. All day, every day, there is just a constant stream of stories coming out that paint one side as awful. And you can just run with it. If all you're trying to do is make Israel look like the worst country in the history of mankind, no problem, man. I've got a couple Telegram channels I follow, a bunch of Twitter accounts, and a handful of websites and mainstream news organizations. I can just go straight from that. And day in and day out, I could be making 5 videos a day talking about how awful Israel is.
Yeah, that's what you do to Russia. That's literally what he just described there is literally what he does with Russia. That's crazy.
And there's an audience for that.
Yeah, just like how there's an audience for yapping about Russia. There's a big audience for just sitting down and basically just shit-talking Russia and painting Russia out as a bad guy, repeating Russia like anti-Russian propaganda and a whole bunch of stupid nonsense about Russia. Oh, there's a big audience for that. Guys, you can literally grift people. You can make so much money off of that. But channels like me, where I'm openly pro-Russia. Oh, no. Guys, I would have so much more subscribers if I wasn't openly pro-Russia. Guys, I have lost so many subscribers because I'm pro-Russia. The amount of subscribers I have lost because I'm pro-Russia, it's crazy. And yet, I open my phone, I open YouTube, I see all these people who are writing Ukraine, don't give a shit about Ukraine. They're just yapping. They just get views, yapping a whole bunch of anti-Russian nonsense, just to farm people for views, just to get subscribers, right? Just to get easy money. Yeah. So many people have unsubscribed from me because I'm pro-Russia. Due to the fact that I'm pro-Russia, I have lost God knows how many subscribers. Honestly, I could have just went and just pretended like I was like an anti-Russia channel. I probably would have God knows how much subscribers by now. So yes, I agree. He's literally just like projecting himself. This is literally projection to the finest.
Personally, I follow plenty of Telegram, Twitter accounts, websites, podcasts, where every single thing that happens in Gaza is the fault of Hamas. It's propaganda, anything that possibly makes Israel look like they may have even made a misstep. And there's an audience for that as well. So if you want to do that, and there are people who have done that, no doubt, I think it's pretty easy.
You know something I love?
I don't morally, that's not me at baseline, but morally I think that could be, I would have a challenge doing that. But look, to big picture, there's things that I would like to see done here that both Israel and Hamas could do, and they're not. And it's incredibly frustrating that we're still here, because we've gotten into this narrative war of just debating the details of like how many pallets of food came in today compared with before the war, and what's the control percentage for how many children that might feed versus are starving. Like,
okay, but that shouldn't be happening in the first place. That shouldn't be happening in the first place. You don't really hear this problem in like the Russian controlled areas of Ukraine. I mean, right now there's like a shortage of water, but it's not as bad. Like, come on, like compare Russia controlled areas of Ukraine to what's going on in that peninsula. You can't even compare the two, bro. You can't. You bro. You know, I'm just saying that. You know, just keep that in mind.
Those are the that's the focus of everything right now in Gaza. It's wild that we're at that point. But big picture, and what I still don't, there's so many aspects of this that I feel like you bring them up and we just move straight past it to, well, what about the children, right? Or what about Hamas is bad? And yes, got it. Hamas has a card to play here. Like, they are not just sitting there without blame. And I don't understand why this isn't brought up more. Like, they are actively holding Israeli hostages today, as we sit here right now. So on the one hand, they're lamenting that there's a famine and that they're trying to do what they can by the Palestinian people. They have in their possession something, a lever they could pull. They could release those hostages and say, we will release them, and there we go. No excuse now for Israel to continue military operations and blockade the Gaza Strip. I got it. It's complicated. And there's more.
You know what's funny about that? You know what's funny about that is the fact that, said Hebrew country, has reportedly and allegedly just YOLO, literally just YOLO. Like, wait, hostages are over there? Shit, let's just airstrike it anyways. Allegedly, of course.
Or to it. But we can't just brush aside that they have a significant card to play and they're choosing not to. Conversely, with Israel, how about international journalists? I understand during the beginning of military operations. Personally, I don't like that. I'm more in the camp of let's get as many journalists near the front line as possible. But what are we doing at this point? Like, I got it that it's a risk to the journalists, and maybe their journalistic integrity will come under question if they have to embed with Hamas. No problem. Put that on the organizations. Put that on the AP, on Reuters, on Washington Post. Take your pick. Whoever. I'm so tired that everything coming out of the Gaza Strip can't be trusted. Full stop. Done. End of story. There's no journalists there to back anything up. That has led.
Okay, so we're like 6 minutes in the video, and he claims to be like objective, right? But he can't just like objectively just look at the situation and just say like, hey guys, maybe like this humanitarian crisis that's happening in that specific area, which name I will not say. I hope we all know what I'm talking about at this point. Maybe this is like happening on purpose. Maybe like a specific someone, or maybe a entity or a group of people or a country is purposely trying to do this. Maybe it's like too many people that are suffering, like too many civilians. I mean, he likes to cry a lot about the civilians in Ukraine suffering, I mean, he does talk about the civilian suffering too, but you know, every time it's a civilian target that just so happens to be collateral damage, unfortunately, he tends to paint it out as, oh look, Russia strikes again. What? Like, oh my goodness, how could Russia do that? Ugh. But you know, I'm really not seeing this at all in this video. I mean, we have a good, I don't know, like 18 minutes left. I'm pretty shit at math, but you know, we got a good chunk of this video left. So
to some of the most ridiculous claims coming out of the Gaza Strip that we never really get any clarification on. I don't know that adding 5, 10, 15, 30 journalists in there would do it, but it seems like a place to start, right? So here we are, you know, coming up on 2 years into this conflict, and some of these things that...
Have you ever just thought that maybe, like, they're not putting journalists there because, I don't know, they're trying to, like, hide something? I don't know, man. It could just be me.
Seem like, why not? And they're not being done. And I know that, I understand. You'll get into the comments and you'll see people explaining exactly why what I just said is so stupid, because there's so many simple reasons why that can't be done. I guess we're just going to continue doing what we're doing then, because this is the path we're going on, and there's not going to be any change for what it's worth. I've had a lot of people recently ask me, well, how can the U.S. let this happen? I got news for you. The U.S. doesn't care. I'm sorry, don't shoot the messenger. Like, this is not a priority issue for the United States. It's not close. There are some very loud voices in the United States where this is a priority. But if you look at the actions of our senior leaders, going all the way up to President Trump, what's happening in Gaza is not top 20. And I don't think, at all. They clearly don't, nobody views this as something that's going to impact their ability to legislate or even impact their ability to get reelected, which is really what they all care about in the first place. If they did, you might see some sort of changes, but there's nothing, right? It's just hands off, just do whatever, which means that we're just going to continue to see the same thing that we're seeing today, which is chaos. Now, when I'm talking about these conflicting narratives,
okay, both political parties literally agree on the same thing regarding the whole, like, Middle East. They both agree on, like, Middle Eastern foreign policy. So it really, I mean, that's probably why, I'm just saying, like, my opinion at this point, but that's probably why they don't really care, because it doesn't matter who's in power. They're both gonna, like, have the same response and ideas when it comes to the Middle East. So,
and just a different story every few hours. I don't know what you do with that information. Like, we don't have that in other conflicts. In other conflicts, there tends to be at least something a thread you can pull at to kind of get an idea. A couple examples here. Just a few days ago, there was an Al Jazeera reporter killed by an Israeli airstrike in Gaza. And to tell you how this could play out, if you wanted to just say, hey, everything Israel does is bad, you had plenty of ammunition there. Right away, a bunch of international organizations ran with this story. It was all over the headlines everywhere. There were countless TikToks and X posts and Instagram reels of Israel just deliberately killed a journalist, of Al Jazeera nonetheless, one that people have seen his face all across the world. And that ran for a couple hours and no doubt continues today. But if you gave it a couple hours, then Israel came out and said, yeah, also the dude was a member of Hamas. And we have pictures of him with senior Hamas officials, which as a journalist, he's probably going to do that. But then pictures of him celebrating October 7th. Pictures of him stepping on the head of a dead Israeli soldier on October 7th. Like, okay, all right, so maybe like journalist with an asterisk, right? Like, seems like there's a little bit more to that story. Dude sounds like he was straight.
no, I didn't heard about the whole Al Jazeera reporting thing. I've heard claims of Al Jazeera being affiliated with that group. Honestly, I never really tried to dive into any details regarding that. But I also never shrugged it off either. Honestly, I was I kind of wouldn't be surprised. But here's the thing though, right? It's not even the fact of, oh, he was like with them. Like, that's not the problem. I mean, if he was, he was. It is what it is. He's gone now. My problem is his double standards, where he kind of just can't point out that a specific place is specifically specifically targeting specific set of people on purpose. There's a specific place where a lot of kids are being unalived at an alarming rate that is way higher than normal. I mean, again, remember what I said about Ukraine? He loves to talk about whenever civilians in Ukraine gets, unfortunately gets hit a lot, but he not once has he really said like, hey, these people in this other place is and guys, I don't want to say the place. Again, we all know what I'm talking about here. Okay. But yeah, he not once has he really just went and say like, hey, I think maybe these guys are purposely they're purposely doing this at this point. Remember what he said at the start of the video? Like, oh, the beginning, October 7th. Yeah, that was a war. Remember what he said, okay? Let's not go off topic. This is what made me decide to go and do this video. Let's not go off topic. He said, October 7th. Yeah, that was a war, man. That was a war, but now it turned into like a humanitarian crisis. Like, he just can't just admit what it is. Like, it literally, we all know what it is. It's right in front of our eyes, and he literally just cannot just admit it. He claims it's a humanitarian crisis. Yeah, I wonder why that humanitarian crisis began in the first place, Preston Stewart.
Right up a full-blown Hamas supporter. According to that information. Is it somewhere in between? Where does it sit between? I don't know, because I'm going off the same information you're going off of. And I don't know that everybody is giving the full story. You just got to take someone's word for it, I guess, is how this all kind of shakes out. Another example is and when it comes to taking somebody's word for it, by the way, I get the argument that Hamas is a designated terrorist organization. I hate them. They're bad, okay? If Hamas goes away tomorrow, great. I think that would be a net win for the world. They're holding hostages today. That is awful what they are doing. I'm not blindly trusting anyone or anything. Full stop. Like, it does not do us any good to get into this game.
Yeah, but like, why are they around? Why did that group come around? You gotta ask yourself that question. Why did that group come around? You don't like wake up one day and decide to be an extremist, guys. You don't. So, I mean, it's one thing to just say, oh my gosh, extremists, oh no, bad. Maybe do some digging.
Game of, I trust this group of people or this organization or this country a little bit more. Ipso facto, everything they say is true and everything they say is false. It doesn't work like that. There's no country, no news organization, no reporter, nothing that is 100% fully honest all the time. You have to approach all of it with some skepticism. Even the sources here of course, the sources here in the United States, you have to approach with skepticism. So, no, it is not as clear-cut, for me at least, that when Hamas says one thing and Israel says another, that 100% of the time it is exactly what Israel said. Personally, and this is a bias of mine, no doubt, I tend to believe Israel a lot more than I believe Hamas, and it's not close. But that doesn't mean that every single thing they say is true, which, on that note, by the way, another thing, this is just spiraled out of control. This is turning into a little bit of a vent video, not
why is that? No, why is that? I really wonder, why? Why do you believe the other side more than one side in this situation, Preston Stewart? What led you to that? What led you to believe that one side is more trustworthy than the other? What has the other side done that was extremely dishonest that made you think, yeah, I can't really trust them? But what has the other side done that was really honest that made you go, okay, I can trust them? I'm really curious here. Guys, all these people used to think, well, like, all these people always like to bash on me because I'm like so pro Russia, blah blah blah. But you know, it's funny because I literally used to be a Ukraine supporter. I literally used to be a Ukraine supporter. I used to be a big Ukraine fanboy. It's genuinely like hilarious. Like, most people don't know that. But yes, I literally used to support Ukraine big until I saw the truth. Well, there's a bunch of reasons why I decided to become extremely pro-Russia and just eventually just become just straight pro-Russia fanboy. But no, like, originally I used to support Ukraine. No, part of it is simply because I saw the truth and I saw that one side was deceiving the other. I was like, okay, oh shoot, I can't trust this side. I mean, you know, like I said in my one of my YouTube shorts that I uploaded recently, your brain is made for pattern recognition, and yeah, when you see patterns, you know, well, the sky is blue. We all know the sky is blue. If the sky is blue, if you look up, we can see the sky is blue. So when you see the same patterns over and over and over, well, you act appropriately. And I kept seeing the same patterns over and over and over. And that's the funny thing with this is he does actually see a pattern. He does actually. He sees the patterns where civilians are, you know, being unalived at a coincidentally high rate, to the point where he's like, I don't know how to report on this anymore. Nobody. It's because you see it for what it is.
The normal content here.
This is what Ivy League...
Israel is an incredible U.S. ally. They've been a U.S. ally for a long time. That does not mean that they can do no wrong or that we can't be critical of their actions. Like, grow up. What is this ridiculous internet argumentation that if you say, hey, maybe Israel should have had a better day after plan in the Gaza Strip, which seems like common sense right now, that somehow that is anti-Semitic. Like, get out of here. Come on. It's any country, every country in the world makes mistakes and takes actions that we look at and say, that's not good, or that could have been done a different way. And it's not all of a sudden.
This is like a woman cheating on a guy and saying, that was a mistake. It was a mistake, bro. Seriously, do you hear? Holy hell, bro. We all make mistakes, guys. We all make mistakes. Yes. The coincidentally high rate of literal infants and babies that are literally being silenced. I'm just gonna say it like that. Yes, it's a mistake. Yes, just like how when a woman or a man willfully puts her lips on another person and willfully, you know, gets cracked by somebody else whilst being in a relationship, you know, knowing that they're in a relationship. Yes, that's a mistake too. Yeah, if you use that logic. Yes.
Sudden, you know, singling Israel out because maybe they haven't done things perfectly in the last few years. Like, let's be grown.
That's the way to put it.
Mature audience. I know this is kind of a bottom of the barrel Twitter, Instagram type argument, but it's getting ridiculous. And we do see that creeping out into higher levels of discourse. Like, what are we doing? What does that accomplish at all? And look, Israel at times throughout this conflict has done things that have been beneficial to the United States and other things that personally, and I have said this on this channel, I think are detrimental to the United States. My view of this conflict, how I've been looking at it from day one, as any conflict, is what does it mean for the United States? I'm an American. I want what's best for my family and my fellow citizens. Like that is my priority. When looking
spoiler alert, this conflict doesn't really affect you in any way. I swear, this is like the type of brainwashing that these like American soldiers is like receive when they like join the military, and they're like all the way like literally thousands of miles away in some like freaking random, poor broke country, and they, when they get asked the question like, oh, why are you fighting? Wait, why are you here? Like tens of thousands of miles away from your freaking country, and you're like, I'm defending my country. I'm defending my country. Meanwhile, they just ordered like, I don't know, 10 airstrikes on indigenous inhabitants of a country that they're not even freaking like native to, who are actually defending their country.
At Ukraine, when looking at Ukraine, Russia, when looking at Israel, Hamas, when looking at Israel, Iran, any one of these. Sometimes it's a little more clear cut than others, but in this case, there were situations where Israel was going after some of our mutual enemies. Hamas doesn't like the United States, but never really doesn't really pose a significant threat to the U.S. Hezbollah, however, great. Knocking them back a few steps, wonderful. I like that Israel's going after the Houthis. I think that's a good thing. I like what Israel did to the IRGC. I think that was a net positive and helped the United States more than we can probably imagine in taking out a lot of Iran's air defense systems. That one was a huge assist that I don't think anyone really saw coming. But at the same time, and we've talked about this in previous videos, the continuation of the war and the way that they are executing the war in Gaza, I think is probably a net negative for the United States. Because one of the simplest recruiting methods for Islamic extremists over the course of the last 25 plus years has been, look at what Israel is doing. And the United States backs Israel, the US is the problem. Like, that is just a slam dunk. You see Al-Qaeda and Islamic State, anytime they're like, what we need is a little recruiting uptick, they eventually come around and say, hey, Israel and the US, they're backers, go get them. So it's so easy in this case when we're watching videos day in and day out, whether it's an accurate video or a stolen video or an AI video or something in between. The fact is, people see that and they view that as accurate. And it does not take a genius to go from what is happening in Gaza to piece that together to some degree of support from the United States. I mean, it's not quite the case that every single munition dropped or every single bullet fired is, authorized by the U.S. That's a bit of an extreme position. Israel does have autonomy. They are acting in what at least some of their leaders believe is in their best interest. But for people that are at risk of getting radicalized by something they see online, you really think they're going to dig through those details? Or do they just need that high-level painting of this is the U.S.'s fault? We've already seen it.
I mean, like I said before, both sides, there's literally bipartisan support for like the Middle East and like Middle Eastern foreign policy, and I mean, I'll give it to him, he's right. Like, yeah, like due to the whole situation in the peninsula in that Middle Eastern country, which name I will not say, the members of Hamas replaced the G with H, has skyrocketed. That's why the war isn't really stopping, because every single time they literally destroy these Hamas members, right? They just get new recruits from people who lost their entire family from a freaking airstrike, who are now enraged and want revenge and quite literally have nothing to lose, right? So I mean, and that's literally being sponsored. Like, it's literally being sponsored. So yeah, I mean, those people who are saying like, hey, look, like, this is why this is happening. I mean, it's not from an objective standpoint. I mean, like, yeah, you know what I mean?
To a degree, small scale, fortunately, but I think that is a problem for the United States. I think being tied to Israel's hip, no matter what, is not good for the U.S. I don't think there's any country in the world that we should be tied to 100% full stop. There has never been a country in the history of mankind where, in the history of the United States, where every one of our priorities line up exactly 1-to-1. It doesn't happen. It doesn't make sense to pretend that Israel is this exception. We do have some priorities that line up, but not all. And I do think there are times where the way, and I think right now is one of them, when so much of the focus is on the humanitarian aspect and people not getting food, and the pictures coming out are showing children, and the discussion is around, wait, are enough children getting food? You want to know what a losing argument is when talking about this conflict? Debating how many starving children is enough to really get concerned about. There's no winning side of that argument. All right, that's where the discussion has gone. And to continue on with these examples of...
Yes, Preston Stewart. Now, how many starving kids do we see in Ukraine? Right? Now, how many starving kids do we see in Ukraine? Like I said, I know there's a water crisis right now, but you know, that's eventually gonna be fixed. Like, yeah, of course. Like I'm not really worried about that. You know, Preston Stewart, just compare the two lives, you know. Like I said, Russia doesn't purposely target civilians in Ukraine, but Preston Stewart likes to say that Russia, you know, hits civilians a lot, like if they're purposely doing it when they're not. Again, we're 15 minutes in the video, basically like nearing the end, and he hasn't really mentioned the fact that one specific country is purposely trying to target another set of people. Or maybe even hint at the idea that maybe this might be going on, or nothing like that, guys. Nothing.
Like, what do you do? Because, to be honest, there's a part of me where I just get tired and I don't want to do it. Say what you want about that. Say that's the right move, the wrong move. I don't know. The problem here is that when you look at a storyline that's coming out, you want to say, here's what happened in the last 24 to 48 hours. There was a big one recently. We had the former U.S. Special Forces officer, I think, Aguilar, I believe was his name, working for the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. He came out and he said, war crimes left and right by the IDF. I saw it all day, every day. You're not going to believe it. And that was a crazy story, right? Like, it's not just that we're hearing this.
Oh my gosh, guys, look. Finally, 60 minutes, and he finally, like, say something, you know, that I've been wondering about for, like, the whole video. Well, I mean, shit is, I don't know if it's true or not, but I mean, if he saw it with his eyes, well, who are we to say that he's wrong?
From Palestinians. We're not even hearing it from international volunteers or whistleblowers in the IDF. This is an American Special Forces soldier, Green Beret, saying this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. That needs to be discussed, right? But if you give it just a few hours, or maybe it was a couple days, all of a sudden the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation came out and said, hold on, you know, we fired him because he wasn't a good employee, and he begged us to come back, and then he threatened us that he was going to expose all sorts of random stuff if we didn't hire him. And it just went, it went from there. All of a sudden, people were going after the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation for actually they're not good, and then going after Aguilar.
Okay, but, I mean... Yeah, I mean, he could be doing it out of spite, but is he, like, I'm not saying he's right or wrong, I'm just saying, like, how do we verify it, right? I mean...
And actually, he lies a lot, and I don't know. I have no idea. Aguilar's since gone on the podcast tour at this point, but I think it kind of plays into what I said earlier, where anybody who wants a story saying that Israel is bad, that's your guy right now, 100%. But I've also seen plenty of people coming out saying, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't add up. He wasn't actually here at this time. Or this doesn't, like, I don't know. What's the better move? Is it to present the story as we know it when it first comes out? Because then it feels like the right thing to do is to follow that up 24 hours later and say, actually, we have a correction. Because that information wasn't entirely correct. There was a significant piece here we were missing. So then you issue the correction on day 2. Well, on day 3, there's another piece of information that maybe veers it back in the other direction. We know how media works and how people's attention spans work. And nobody's interested in that, right? Nobody wants the 7th update in a row that contradicts the other ones, right? And personally, in terms of making any videos or updates about this, it's exhausting. And I don't know what the time is where you say, enough, I feel like I have enough of that story, now we're going to present it. This doesn't happen in other conflicts, not to this degree. There's details that we get wrong. There's minor aspects of stories we get wrong and can come back and correct. No issue. Happens pretty regularly when looking at Russia and Ukraine. There's a report of 4 aircraft were destroyed. Wait a minute, 2 days later, we got the clarification it was only 2. Like, that happens regularly.
Yeah, but like, it doesn't really take a genius, like I said, that a lot of people, a lot of infants and unarmed people are being unalived at such a coincidentally alarming rate. I have to word it like that, guys, because I want to keep this video monetized, those people are being unalived in a very specific place, which I will not name, that it just so happens to be a peninsula in a desert area in the middle of the East.
Not here. There's so many contradicting stories day in and day out that a lot of people at this point, it seems, latch on to whichever piece they want, and that's it. So there's no opening to present, well, hold on. And I'm not talking to you all. You guys are a great audience, very nuanced, and are regularly bringing up these pieces of the gray between the black and white. But I don't know. My gut says that I'm probably not the only one losing interest, maybe is the way to put it, because it's so exhausting day in and day out. But I don't know exactly what the move is here. I didn't want to just stop making content about this at all, because I do know there are a lot of you. I've gotten a lot of really humbling messages from so many of you around the world, to include quite a few viewers, not just in Israel, but in the West Bank as well. And it means a lot that you come here looking for news about this conflict that's happening right there in their backyard. I don't know how to help with that, when it seems like as we go on, it's less about presenting information and it's more about a he said, she said that never ends. And the minute you think you've actually got the details of something new comes up. There was last night, I think, the IDF released footage of what appeared to be a dude with an AK-47 getting out of the back of an aid vehicle wearing an aid worker's uniform. Like, that's a problem.
I'm surprised that people from the West Bank is watching this. Seriously? You watched it? Wow.
Problem, right? Seems pretty important to dig into that. I haven't even begun to go down that rabbit hole. I don't know what the argument is going to be against that, because it's just, look, maybe this is me just accepting defeat in the information war and saying they...
Well, Preston, Stewart, like you said, originally it started as a war, and then it turned into something else. Again, ask yourself, wait, why did it turn into something else? It's funny how he hasn't really addressed like why it turned into something else. He's just saying like, this turned into something that I don't know how to report on anymore. It's just coincidentally just ignoring it.
He did it. I don't know exactly to whose benefit that is, when the information piece just wears you down and you say, I don't even know how to approach this anymore. But that's a little bit of the feeling at this point. I think there's a lot of things that Israel could be doing better right now. I would love to see the conflict wrapped up. I'd love to see the hostages returned. I'd love to see no question of starvation in the Gaza Strip. Wouldn't that be great, just as a humanitarian principle? We're not there. I don't know that we're getting close at all. Feels like we use the term forever war here in the United States a lot, talking about just kind of our experiences in Iraq and Afghanistan. This is kind of fitting right now. It feels like there's a forever war happening in Gaza, and the longer it goes on, the less I actually know, less I actually feel confident about what's happening. But that's enough rambling for me tonight. I wanted to get something out there, just kind of talk through my thoughts on it, because it's a mess, man. It's a mess. Hopefully there's peace soon. That's the best I can say right now. I am going to try to keeping an eye on it. When there's clear military developments, 100%, I'll jump into that. This isn't...
Oh my gosh, dude. Like, bro, dude, the thing, like, Ukraine, right? Okay, like, you see the reason why he could, like, get away with, like, meat riding Ukraine, like, all the time is because Russia actually has military goals. I mean, for Christ's sakes, man, they literally call it a special military operation, which it is. It's not even like a full-scale war. Trust me, if it was a full-scale war, all of Ukraine would be leveled by now. Okay, like, again, Russia isn't really trying, and when I say Russia, I'm talking about the Russian government, the Russian state isn't really trying to target civilians, and that is very evident. So you could easily just say, like, oh my goodness, like, whoa, you know, when civilians of collateral damage get hurt, right, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, the civilians, you know, it's easy just to, like, meat ride that, right? You know, a few times where it happens, it's like, yeah, right there. But then compare this to the conflict that's happening in a certain desert Middle Eastern place, which name I will not say. You know, it's like, oh wait, we could do the same thing. But then when it becomes, like, painfully obvious, like, oh my gosh, like wait a minute, they're not just trying to, like, this side isn't really trying to fight a war. They're trying to do more. Yeah. I don't know how to cover this anymore.
I'm not trying to say that I'm avoiding the conflict or I'll never talk about it again, anything like that at all. More just, you know, a little peek behind the curtain of the absolute chaos that is trying to decipher what the hell is happening in Gaza. But anyways, as always, appreciate all your support. You guys are awesome. And if you lasted this long, thanks for sitting through that long rant. Hope you all have a wonderful night. We'll see you.
Well, he kind of just, I mean, it was a rant indeed. He didn't really say anything productive. All he basically said is, this is basically what I got from this. I can't really report this the way that I want, like how I do Russia and Ukraine, because a specific side is clearly just making it more than obvious that they have clear alternative goals, so it's very inconvenient for me to report on this anymore, because if I admit this, then oh wait, I'm too brainwashed to admit that. Anyways, guys, let's hope that nothing doesn't happen to me from doing this video. Anyways, thank you for watching and goodbye. Go subscribe if you like my take.